We don't trust our intuition because we say to ourselves, this isn't logical. We brush it off because we're like, this isn't fact. I believe that intuition helps us see the future. It helps us see future facts. We really shouldn't doubt that emotional compass that we've got within us. Just like we shouldn't doubt nature, the power of nature, how intelligent nature is. That kind of intelligence that exists is so powerful. I even find it hard to talk about and explain because it is so mind-boggling. We are all-knowing from the day we're born. As babies, we know what we want. I think babies are really actually in tune with their intuition. Even babies sometimes will warm to certain people more than others because obviously there's a certain energy, and animals do a similar thing. There are some dogs and cats that prefer women to men. They are observant of energy. They're tapping into their intuition. As we get older, we become more and more removed from our intuition. Hello beautiful people, I'm Alessia. Today I'm going to be talking about intuition. I'm going to help you strengthen your intuition so you can be a stronger individual, an individual that's not going to be taken advantage of. I think we're quite often in this world taught to doubt our intuition, to doubt the more emotional truths. I think that's because we live in quite a masculine world, a world that celebrates statistics and logic and obvious truths. But the more kind of hidden truths, the more emotional, the more interpretive truths are considered woo-wooey and are not respected. So it's no wonder so many of us doubt our intuition and decide to ignore those gut feelings. But we all have learned that lesson when we've been like, I should have listened to my gut. I should have listened to my body, something felt off, and now look where I am. He's taken advantage of me, I've got feelings for him, and he doesn't care. But I knew that from the get-go. My body was telling me that something is off here. I had this experience at university. I was seeing this guy and I knew from the get-go that something was off, that something was being forced on his end. And maybe on my end too. I think in that moment I was just trying to get into a relationship or find someone to make me feel appreciated. I was craving that male validation. I wasn't that into the guy, I was into the guy giving me attention. But anyway, we were both kind of forcing it, and I could tell he was forcing it because of small things like lack of eye contact in intimate moments or lack of interest in me. You know, there were points where he could have asked me questions about myself or inquired further when I opened up about things, but he didn't. And my gut was like, this is wrong. This shows that he's not into you, but I chose to ignore it. And it's really easy to ignore that gut feeling because often it will just remain internal. It will be a thought in our head that we choose to ignore, not vocalize, not write down, not put out into the world. And when we don't put our thoughts out into the world, it's so easy to let them pass by and forget about them. So that's why I'm going to get you to write down your intuitive thoughts. If you're in the early stages of dating someone, if you're trying to suss someone out generally, I really encourage you to write down how your body reacts, how you feel emotionally around them. When we get those thoughts down on paper, those intuitive thoughts like, oh, they didn't make eye contact with me when I was opening up about this, and they didn't seem that moved by that story and something was off. If we write that down, it's so easy to be like, this is actually something I need to take seriously, especially if we have a long list of things like that. It's very easy to, in the moment, just brush aside that worrying intuitive thought. But if we've got a collection of worried intuitive thoughts on a piece of paper, it's so much harder to ignore, and it's so much easier to be like, actually, maybe I should consider asking this person, do you actually like me? Where is this going? What are your intentions? It's so much easier to stand your ground and to protect your energy. And it's so much easier to make the difficult decision to be like, actually, this isn't worth my time anymore. Even though I really want this relationship, or I want a relationship, this particular one is not meant to be. So I do believe we have this innate knowing, but as women, society tries to remove us from this innate knowing by telling us what we should do and what we should like and how we should feel. We're all kind of prescribed the same lifestyle, the same goals. You want to get married, you want to fall in love, you want to be the princess, you want to be rescued, you want to focus on looking good, you want to be the hottest girl in the room. And of course that means we neglect those intuitive thoughts. If we're so hell-bent on getting into a relationship, it doesn't matter if the guy exhibits many red flags. We're so desperate on getting into that relationship so we can feel valid, so we can feel worthy, so we can feel successful as women, that we are able to bypass all those feelings of like, this is off. I know it's a feeling, it's an energy that you can't touch, you can't hold, you can't point at. It's just there, but not there. I know that means it's so much easier to ignore, but there are ways to really see clearly what is going on internally, what that intuition is saying. There are ways to really tap into that. One thing that you can do is have valuable alone time. You can meditate, you can do yoga, you can go for a silent walk in nature, you can pleasure yourself. There are so many ways to tap into that inner voice. There are so many ways to be at one with yourself and not be influenced by external forces. There are so many ways to look inward. And that is basically what our intuition is. It's an inward thought. It's an inward expression. And that is why it's so powerful, because it's just a deep knowing of the self, of what's best for you, of what feels right to you in the moment. It's this really caring energy. So we really want to tap into that. So yeah, doing things like yoga or meditation, whatever connects you to yourself is great. We are influenced by our surroundings. We are influenced by other voices. We live in a world that is very loud. There are so many other people's opinions and thoughts coming in all the time through many different sources, through our phones, social media, Instagram, TV, our friends. We're living in a time when we have constant access to other people's opinions. Even right now, you're listening to my opinion on something. And whilst I want you to continue watching, and I'm hoping this is going to make you feel connected to your intuition, at the same time, you're listening to someone else's opinion, not your own. A lot of the voices that are amplified, that are respected, that are uplifted are men's voices, particularly in the media, but actually everywhere. Even when I'm in a room and there's a couple of women and a couple of men tend to be the ones that feel more confident to vocalize their opinions, and women tend to go quieter and more in their shell. I know I certainly do that around men. It's so easy to spend so much of our time absorbing irrelevant information, absorbing other people's wants and needs, and it's so easy to become so far removed from your own wants and needs. So that is why doing things like meditation is so crucial, because it allows you to remove those outside opinions and connect with your own. That's why I think silent moments are so important, because they allow those thoughts and those feelings and those desires that are inside of you to come to the forefront of your mind. But it does take time. Those feelings and desires do get pushed to the back of our minds because we're dealing with so much all the time, so much information. And particularly as women, we live in a patriarchal world, so we really are forced to think of others before ourselves. We're forced to adjust ourselves to fit into a world that isn't designed for us. So of course, we really are removed from that feeling of what's right for me? Not what should I do or what do they want me to do? What is right for me? My God, if women were able to focus more on what feels right to them, I just feel like there would be a lot more women standing up for themselves, a lot more women dumping guys that aren't treating them right. I think a lot of toxic guys would have to reevaluate how they are acting in this world. I'm saying this as if you are into guys, you might be into girls, you might be into people. I don't know your situation. I know I'm talking about it in a very kind of like heteronormative way. We are who we hang out with. If you hang out with one person a lot or a group of people a lot, then you're more likely to take on their opinions and their views of the world. Of course, we have the ability to criticize and think independently, so of course you're not completely defined by the people surrounding you, but you can't help but absorb some of their opinions and perspectives on life. Another thing you can do to really connect with your opinions, your thoughts, your intuition is to be really observant of the little things. This is something I think I naturally do, but I don't think, we're all different. Some people are more just in the moment, which I am jealous of, but I am particularly observant when I'm around people. And I think this, works to my advantage because it means I tend to suss out when something is off. And that is because I really do take the little things seriously. Obviously this has its downfalls and sometimes I get it off, but when I notice little things like lack of eye contact, lack of emotion, lack of willingness to be caring or kind, I take mental note of that and I make sure I'm not really vulnerable and I don't give all my energy to someone who is giving me these little off signals in these little moments. It's very easy to doubt the little moments and be like, come on, it's just a little thing. I think that's one of the most frustrating things that we probably tell ourselves. Oh, it's just something little. If your body is just going, no, this is off. Trust it. Listen to that little nagging doubt if there's something off about their energy. I believe if we have a strong sense of self, it's so much easier to then trust your intuition. When you have a strong sense of self, you have a lot of self-trust, which then enables you to trust those kind of inner thoughts that do come up. So to improve that sense of self, it's really good to get clear on things like, what are your values in life? What do you want for your future self? What kind of characteristics do you want friends to embody? How do you want to feel? Peaceful, successful? What do you believe is your purpose in this life? It could be something very simple like being in nature or being of service to women. I feel like that is my purpose. I want to embolden women to see their worth. When I'm in a social situation and I feel the need to kind of laugh along at jokes I don't find funny, usually vocalized by men, I will be like, no. My purpose in this life is to be myself, to feel peaceful, to feel connected to women around me, to make women feel empowered. And my inner voice right now is saying, don't laugh, that's not funny. That's actually coming from quite a dark, sexist place. I'm going to trust that feeling that I shouldn't entertain this guy's energy because it's feeling off. I'd actually love to know if you wanted to comment in the comment section below what you want from life and what you feel is your thing in this life. I'd love to know, because for me, I feel like my thing is to feel connected to women, animals and nature, those three. I think a lot of the time we don't trust our intuition because we say to ourselves, this isn't logical. We brush it off because we're like, this isn't fact. I believe that intuition helps us see the future. It helps us see future facts. We really shouldn't doubt that emotional compass that we've got within us. Just like we shouldn't doubt nature, the power of nature, how intelligent nature is. That kind of intelligence that exists is so powerful. I even find it hard to talk about and explain because it is so beyond me and so mind-boggling. We are all-knowing from the day we're born. When we're born as babies, we know what we want. We cry when we're hungry. I think babies are really actually in tune with their intuition. That's what helps them communicate with their parents. We do have this knowing that we are actually way more in touch with when we're children. Even babies sometimes will warm to certain people more than others because obviously there's a certain energy, and animals do a similar thing. There are some dogs and cats that prefer women to men. They are observant of energy, they're tapping into their intuition. I do believe as we get older, we become more and more removed from our intuition because we go into the working world where we're taught to be very logical and to base our everything on facts, and we start to really develop that logical, rational mind. And we really live in that masculine energy and it just becomes a habit. So it's so understandable that we become removed from our intuition because we live in a world that facilitates us existing in our masculine energy more, in that kind of obvious way of navigating. Unless you're a creative, I do think artists and writers and creators in general are allowed to lean on their intuition more. I do believe even within those office jobs, intuition can be really useful because sometimes what seems like a very logical decision at the beginning can turn into a big fat mess. Things materialize that show that investing in that company is not a wise decision because this person is off and their intentions aren't good, aren't authentic. Eventually it becomes apparent that it's the logical decision to trust your intuition because it was off. Sometimes the most accurate and logical decisions are those determined by our gut instinct. The last thing I want to say before I leave you lovely people is trust that initial instinct, trust those initial thoughts that just come in, and don't overthink. I think a lot of the time overthinking leads us away from our intuition, because when we're overthinking, we're not tapping into that inner knowing. We're being kind of anxious and doubtful, and we're navigating from a mindset that isn't just all knowing, but more panicky and more distrustful. I really hope you enjoyed that video, my lovely. Please do subscribe and hit the bell if you want to watch more videos like this. And please feel free to, in the comments section, suggest videos you want me to cover and topics that you want me to cover. I do self-love and decentering men coaching, so if anyone is interested in connecting with me, I've got my email in the description box, so just go ahead and pop me an email.